Hello everyone, sorry for the delay in updates. Been a little bit busier than I expected doing other jobs on the van before actually getting on with doing the bathroom. One of the problems I showed in one of my first videos was the fact the wheel arch was extraordinarily rusty and horrible and yuck. Well, when I took the wire brush to it on the angle grinder, there was a lot more rust in the wheel arch than I expected. So I've ended up rebuilding the entire thing, and I've actually made a plastic liner using a product called Stopboard, 6mm Stopboard. And I'm not sure whether it's going to show, but I'll stick the camera underneath and let's see if I can show you what it's all about. There we are. I've basically made up lots of sections, then I loosely assembled it all with cable ties, and then that is PU40 sealant. So the whole thing now, including that section up, where am I looking with the camera? That section there is the piece that was really rusted. So I've actually chopped all the metal out of there, and I've actually created a completely new inner wheel arch. But that won't rust again, and it certainly won't have any water penetration, even if what metal is up there does rust. But I'll now show you what I've done inside the van, and I've got to do the same on the other side, but to a lesser degree. These jack stands that I'm using, they're very handy. Each one of these is rated at 5 tons. I've got the axles on axle stands as well, but I'm using these jack stands basically level the van. I've actually got the floor completely level, very handy for building things when things are level. I've got the front of the van on smaller stands. The wheels are still taking well, this wheel isn't because the wheels are off at the moment, but the wheels are taking a fair bit of weight. But these stands are just keeping it level. Right, inside the van. In fact, no, I'll show you something else first. I spent quite a while getting the van stickers off, and they come off beautifully. In the previous video I showed how I did that, but I did this side, I've done the back, and also you'll notice that the opening where the ramp was is completely gone. That's actually a piece of plastic composite decking. I was going to mount parking sensors in it, but they were too deep, and the parking sensors are now mounted underneath. You can just see them below the aluminium strip. I've used a bit of the light bar from Thistle to fill in that aluminium. It's close, it's not brilliant, but it's better than nothing. I had a right nightmare getting the parking sensors to work properly, and even now they're not 100%. They don't seem to like being so close to metal. The daft thing is they're not giving false alarms on the step. It's the one in the centre that seems to be having the most trouble, but it works. I've also got 2 reversing cameras now. Well, a reversing camera and a camera that acts as the rear view mirror. And I had to wire all that lot in before I actually built the shower room, because I would have ended up obscuring some of the axis. And then I realised that the entire void up there wasn't insulated, so I've insulated it. And then I decided I needed to do something else. I also had to repair the rear door. In the previous video you noticed there was an aluminium plate there in exactly the same place, but it was all bent and buckled, and the corner of the door has been smashed, probably by the lift being closed while the door was still open. So this piece of checker plate was a piece that came out of Thistle. It was actually part of the centre console between the seats. But it was very handy. I took all the grey carpet off of it and cleaned it up, and have used that to properly reinforce the corner of the door. And now it closes properly, which is really handy. It never used to seal up the top here. There was a gap, and water would get in. It wasn't sealing properly, and that's because that was so distorted at the bottom that the door was all out askew. It wasn't clamping properly there at this end, and therefore it wasn't closing properly at the top. Bit odd, but that was the end result. Anyway, just thought I'd mention that. This plastic decking, 11 quid. Cuts beautifully on the saw. I've put a little, let's just pause a moment. It's got a little piece to trim it off at the top as well, which was £3. So for 20 quid, all in all, I've managed to clean up the back end of the van, got rid of that ugly hole, and used a piece of the cut off of the decking to hang the parking sensors on. And like that, they, as I said, work enough that they will do their job. There's something not quite right, or it could simply be that the way I've got the van, it doesn't like the fact that Thistle's directly behind us, and it's just giving me false alarms. I won't know for sure whether the thing's working properly until I've got the van out on the road. But there's Thistle. I've done a few bits and pieces to it. I think I've got a bit of video somewhere in making of putting the solar panels on, but Thistle is sitting there waiting to be done. It's going to take me a long time to do that one. It's actually taken me a lot longer to do was than I expected, but there you go, nice bit of yellow paint. So there's a completely reconstructed wheel arch, or inner wheel arch. It's actually made out of a road sign. Some time ago we had some roadworks here, and for whatever reasons the roadworks people just dumped all the road signs in my front garden. I've had this particular sign, which was our diversion sign, laying around for years, and I thought that's a handy bit of galvanised steel. So I fabricated a metal folder using 2 bits of angle iron and some bolts, and I was able to quickly construct a replacement wheel arch for this one that was here, because it really was shot, holes everywhere. So we got a new wheel arch on here, and you can see I've only just glued this in place. It's actually clamped up now, and I'm making use of a nice heavy battery to hold it down. And then the other side is skinned with the plastic. It needs to be relatively strong because I actually think this is a structural part, because the other part of the wheel arch for the inner wheel is effectively there in front of this metal one, and that floor section there is only 10mm thick, if that, and it does flex without this wheel arch being there. So that's where we are with that. That's that repaired. Needed to get that done, and then I also needed to get insulation up there in those holes where there used to be speakers and a few other bits and pieces, and all the wiring for the cameras and stuff like that before I could get on with the shower. But we've got the framework now laid out. I've actually glued this structure in place today using PU40. That piece of white plastic over there has been in and out 3 or 4 times today. I've actually run, although you can't see it, there is actually a piece of pipe now, which would be the flue, or the vent rather, from our composting toilet. There's been a small fan that actually draws air out of the toilet, and that gets rid of any nasty smells. But I found a very nice convenient hole behind this plastic sheet in the ceiling of the van, which allowed me to drill through to the other side, because there's a lot of reinforcement in that corner there, and I didn't really want to start blindly drilling to put a bit of 40mm tube through. You'll also notice we're all lit up. I decided that as part of the exercise in doing all the wiring for the cameras, I needed to do all the wiring for everything else as well, and that's what I've been doing for the past couple of weeks. That little device hanging there is a Chinese battery monitor clone. It's a Bluetooth device. I've got a CTEK device as well. Not impressed with the CTEK unit, very slow to respond. Information it provides isn't very good, whereas this one does data logging. It also provides information about vehicle cranking voltages as well, and all sorts of odds and sods, which I will experiment with later on. But all the electrics in the back end of the van that we need on a day-to-day basis, the lighting and the 12-volt sockets, are now all running. I've got some speakers up there as well. These are speakers that were originally at the back of the van. I've put them in there just to give me some radio. They are actually, no, they weren't in the back of the van. These are the 2 that were above the, they were in the driver's cab. One was for the intercom and one was for the voice activation of the Genesis system. And I just decided they're very handy because one of them's actually covering up a hole. So you can see, whoops, that wheel arch needs dealing with. There's a lot less damage on that one. It's only this front piece. You can see whether it's perforated. I'll cut that section out as well and replace that, but I don't need to do the whole wheel arch. Android head unit's in now. That's up and running. Bit of faffing around looking for a 12-volt accessory feed, and I've ended up taking it off the cigarette lighter inside the ashtray. That was a convenient place for a proper 12-volt accessories position. And then the actual wiring I've done is, better pause. So for starters, we've got a main socket down there. That's actually off of the mains hookup. I won't be using that in the van. Well, I could actually swap it over if I wanted to, but right now I wanted a mains socket in the van that I could use when I'm doing the build, and that is currently wired back to the mains distribution, to the actual mains in side of it. I may cut over later on, but right now it may well be useful to have a main socket just for mains when on hookup. Now behind that metal grill I've installed a fuse box. It's actually a 12-way fuse box, and I've used 11 ways already. It's a very convenient place because it's just 4 screws, very easily accessible. And then I've used conventional main switches simply because I had some in the box. So the left-hand switch does the scene lights. And these scene lights, these LED scene lights, I don't know whether that's going to go high enough. Will it go high enough? Yeah, these LED scene lights are fantastically bright. Very useful. So we decided that it would be very useful in the dark to be able to light up the van externally rather. So all 4 scene lights are off that switch in that position. And when turned off, they're then wired through to the reversing switch, because when I put the van in reverse, I'm going to have the scene lights on, the standard reversing lights, the reversing camera, both of them, and the parking sensors as well. These scene lights are so good that I think they would actually be very, very useful for reversing. I haven't done anything yet with the... Does it show? I haven't done anything yet with the lights on the side of the van. I haven't decided how I want to use those yet. But the other 2 switches up the top there, and I ran out of back boxes, dry lining back boxes, so it's just on a temporary box at the moment. The other lights are for the main lights inside the van. Again, just split left and right. And then these are entry lights. We just turn on a couple. Oh, wrong one. That one there just does what are labelled up as dim lights on the control panel. They just do 2 lights just for coming into the van. I'm playing around with LEDs. So in that far left hand light, I'll just go and switch it over. Not sure how well that'll show. Does it show? Yeah. I've just put a changeover switch in and I've put some LEDs in the top. These compact fluorescents draw an amp each. That's a fair amount of current. They will be very, very useful. I mean, right now, for example, doing the build, it's very useful to have them on, but obviously I'm plugged into the mains at the moment. We won't be using the compact fluorescents a lot when we're wild camping. We're going to need something a little bit low power. So I thought, let's see what happens if I wire in an LED strip into the standard lighting. And it works. I'm not too happy with the colour, it's too blue. I may go for a warmer colour strip, but they're only a couple of pounds each on eBay. I think I won't do individual switches on the light, so I think I'll just wire the whole lot, all 4 of them, to a changeover switch. It's just a way of saving a bit of energy, reducing the light output, and we'll see how we get on with that. But it's all controllable, irrespective of where the switch is. Cable, you know, still driven by the wall switch, and we just have the choice then of whether we have the LEDs on or the fluorescents. So that's where we are at the moment. A load of work doing the wiring and prettifying, well, finishing off this end. Motor balls up. Thought it might be clever to have a USB charging point at the very top there, and a 12 volt there, and a 12 volt socket as well. Completely forgot the door striker. Can't use them. So now I've got holes in a bit of plastic, and when the door's shut, you can't actually get to them. So that was a bit of a dolt moment, and I need to do something about that now. I'll probably end up having to shift them to the right and just blank it off when I come to actually trim the van out properly. But sometimes you have to, you know, it just happens. you don't get to find out until afterwards. But that's about the only balls up I've done so far, is that. But there you go. Radio's up and running, as I said, the head unit, very, very useful device. And I'm now actually actively getting on with building the bathroom. I've got all the nasty stuff out of the way now that was slowing me up. And one of the guys on Facebook, Craig, I can't remember your surname, Craig, right now, sent me, will it come up on here? I don't know whether it's going to show or not. There's the mirror. Let's lower the camera down a bit. Craig sent me his spare 18-way Genesis control unit. It's knackered, the buttons work but the display's shot, so you know, they're not cheap things to get repaired. But it's very, very handy because I wanted to test, and I haven't done it yet, Craig, I wanted to test to see if the keyless running circuit works. Well, what it did do is I was able to quite happily play with the headlight flasher still works and a few other things that I haven't ever been able to check before. Oddly, the headlights only flash when it's got side lights on and the ignition's off, so something's not quite right yet, or I don't understand how to use it. That's not straight, is it? But I've just chucked it up there where the radio originally was. It's just sitting up there at the moment, and you can see the bit of RS485 cabling just running there. But the rest of the Genesis system, the only thing I'm going to be using it for in the van for the time being will be for HVAC and for the soft start on the rear fan. I just find that useful, and for monitoring. The rest of it I've taken out. I've already taken one module out completely, and I'm aiming to get rid of another one. I'll have it broken down to probably just the main ECU and maybe one, if not two modules, just using the outputs I want. The module I've currently left in place has got the step power out of it and something else, and I'm not quite sure what the something else is for. I don't need it, I just don't know whether to take it out or not. The step power I can just run off an ordinary fuse. But that's where we are for now. I will stop waffling, and I'll give you another update in the not too distant future. Thanks for watching.